Oh God, it's so bright here. Hey, what's going on, everyone? Welcome back to On the Floor with Liv and Cor. I'm Cor, that's Liv. And guys, it's so sunny here. Isn't that so fun? That's all I got.
Jealous.
Is it not in Chicago?
No, it's very gray.
It's so sunny in Seattle. I just want everyone to know that I'm gonna wear sunglasses for the whole intro of this episode.
I think it looks cute.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Liv. Um, guys, did you miss us? Because
Because
we
we
missed
missed
you.
you. Yeah.
Um, I think they did miss us. But truthfully, for our own mental health and sanity, we just didn't have it in us last week to turn the recording on and provide an episode. But we hope that we made up for it in 12 episodes plus a meet preview, um, Ann Arbor recommendations video, and all the other things that happened ahead of Big Tens, plus all the content that we pushed out on our own socials. So we hope that you'll forgive us for taking a beat last weekend. But guess what? Here we are doing an episode.
I have not recovered from Big Tens yet, if I'm being totally honest.
What's recovery?
Correct.
Mhm.
My mom kept saying, when are you guys going to do another episode together? Are you going to do one while you're together? I'm like, Ellen, no. Piper, no.
You're not me. I
Correct.
mean, Ellen's not wrong that while we were together, for those of you that don't know, Olivia and I spent a little bit of time together in Chicago after Big Tens, which was so much fun. Um, but it would
Except
have
it
been
wasn't relaxing because we said we were going to relax. And alas, we worked, went to dinner with Scott Bregman 2 nights in a row, and did not relax.
no, no, and we went to the Big Ten Network office because
We did.
which is work, but it was like so fun. Anywho, Dulls,
There was no relaxing. So
I just want to regroup one more time. For those of you watching on YouTube, you can see how sunny it is in Seattle at the moment. But for those of you listening to my words, just hear me say, it's sunny in Seattle.
I mean, if I'm you, I'll take it.
Oh, I am collecting the sun right now.
Honestly, I'm shocked you're not like laying out.
Okay, well, don't be fooled. It is 50 degrees outside.
It's warm.
Not this California kid. Anything under 60, like we're in a sweater. So, on that note, how do we want, what do we want to do with this episode? Because
Well, I first want to acknowledge that we decided to do this 25 minutes ago, so cut us some slack here.
yeah, for the
Um,
people.
for the people. However, I did want to bring a piece of Ann Arbor to this episode since
Tell
I
me.
did not bring bubbles. I brought the kombucha that Corey's mom bought us.
Temple of Gold.
It's called the Bucci Mama Kombucha Temple of Gold that she bought at Rue's Roast in Ann Arbor. And she gave one to Corey and one to me. And I decided to do a live review of the Bucci Mama on this episode.
Fantastic.
Thank you, Donna. You see
Okay.
this?
I can't wait to hear your review today.
Ooh.
Guava Sao Paulo.
I've never seen that can before, and now I want it.
So, for the fans who have been listening for a few weeks, I do have to identify it does say naturally essenced. We all know how I feel about natural flavors.
Yeah, well, I'm drinking kombucha, so you actually happen to win this round. Don't you recall the episode that you brought an iced tea to the mix? So, I had to flunk one too.
Yeah, yeah. Can we say go Beavers? That's all I'm saying. We're not saying any other words that follow that, but go Beavers.
Open your LaCroix.
Ready? Cheers, Liv.
Okay, cheers.
Okay, don't sleep on this flavor. It's phenomenal.
It's not as sparkly as I would have wanted it to be.
Well, it is kombucha.
It's not bad though.
All right. So 25 minutes ago, we said the people want to know how Big Tens was, and the people want to hear about our regionals bracket or our national championship bracket. So that's the agenda.
That's the agenda. I do want to begin with a couple of anecdotes from Big Tens.
Tell me.
The first anecdote that I would like to acknowledge is our battle with Avis.
I have beef. I have beef with Avis, and I am a
Cor
President's Club member.
You are. Corey and I had decided last minute that after Big Tens, he would take his rental car and drive back to Ann Arbor, drive from Ann Arbor back to Chicago with me and spend 2 days in Chicago with me and hang out. It was like, great. So we're picking up the rental car at the airport, and the destination to drop it back off is Detroit Metro Airport. And I'm like, Corey, should we change the location to drop it off? He goes, nah, we'll do that later. We'll call later. Narrator, big mistake. So that happens.
Yeah,
And
let's just
then
pause there. For anyone needing to change the drop-off location of their car, and they know that they're going to change the drop-off location of their car, get face to face with a representative and do not rely on a phone call. Carry on.
bottom line is we tried to drop it off on Sunday after we drove back from Ann Arbor to Chicago. Didn't work. Called people 3 times. Let's just say we're still dealing with Avis. So
We're
if anyone
still
from
dealing.
Avis is listening to On the Floor with Liv and Cor, give us a refund. Your customer service sucks. That's
Sucks.
that.
At this point, everyone, you know when they say your call is being recorded for quality assurance. Well,
It's not.
I have escalated it to a point where those phone calls, all four of the phone calls, are being escalated and listened to the phone calls for quality assurance because people have been lying. No one took notes. When I say no notes, in a different world, this is a real bad no notes. And I can't wait to hear what they have to say about the quality assurance of my. Anyways,
Correct. That
the
was number one.
the next anecdote. Every single recommendation that Olivia made in Ann Arbor that she took me to is worth it. So if you're going for men's championships, if you're going like and Big Tens, if you're going for NCAAs, if you're ever going to Ann Arbor, Michigan, listen and watch our episode on Ann Arbor recommendations because Olivia is the queen.
I really thought through all of it.
Correct.
I really did. And I'm
Zingerman,
glad you
that's what
enjoyed
it's
it.
called.
Oh, yes.
Rent-free sandwich in my brain, soul, and stomach.
Your parents went twice.
Twice. Yes, they did. I knew my dad would love it. I knew my dad
You
would.
called it.
I know.
It
I know.
was so good.
It was
Yeah,
so
we had ruse roast a lot.
Yeah, it was
We
so good.
had,
Shout out to Ruse Roast for the coffee deal. That was amazing. I
yeah,
did see some videos of some people, some coaches going and enjoying some coffee. So happy they got to do that.
yeah, me too. It was fun. Ann Arbor was a great time. Third anecdote
Tell.
is Corey and I hired hair and makeup for Saturday because I do enjoy makeup. Everyone tells me, all of my friends tell me that I am a lip gloss connoisseur. I always have lip gloss next to me. Always,
Not it being
always,
right next to you right now.
always have lip gloss next to me. So I love makeup. I've always loved makeup. I just don't have the patience to do my makeup on a day where it has to be perfect. And I don't possess the mental capacity to make it perfect when I know I'm going to be tired. So months in advance, we planned for hair and makeup to come. Of course, we still had a lot of work to do on Friday night. So Corey was up till like 2 o'clock in the morning doing work. I went to bed a little earlier than that. My poor, sweet, dear mother, dear, dear Ellen, could not fall asleep to save her life. She stayed in my hotel room with me, was up till like 4 a.m., like playing the Wordle, she said. She probably did like 800 Wordles. I don't even know. So hair and makeup, we get a knock on the door at 6:40 a.m. Kelly walks in. I'm like showered and ready to go. I'm perky, ready to go. Ellen is like curled in a ball in her bed. And like 20 minutes into makeup, Ellen goes, I'm sorry, I'm not saying I am a pumpkin and rolled back over. And all I wanted to do was also be a pumpkin, but I couldn't because I needed to be glammed.
You were turning into a carriage.
Correct. While
Correct.
Ellen was a gourd.
A gourd, quite frankly.
And then
But
Cory came and it was fun and we had music and we were having a ball, but like that early morning wake up for Ellen Karras was tough.
it was tough. It was tough. But I have to say, your makeup was some of the best work I've ever seen.
Kelly crushed it. If anyone needs hair and makeup recs in the Michigan area, I got you. I had never met her. I cold emailed her from seeing a few TikToks and a few recommendations from people, and she did not disappoint. I like did not want to take my face off at 2 a.m. when we stayed up till 2 o'clock in the morning in the lobby of the Courtyard Marriott in Ann
Correct.
Arbor.
Eating
Yeah,
pub
I
mix.
didn't eating pub mix
Correct.
and drinking prosecco out of well, originally plastic cups, but then we asked them to give us glass because, you know. And
It
so
was the lady with the cart pushing the glass cups towards us. And I don't know, it wasn't really that funny, but we lost our minds. It was so funny.
we were really, 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 really tired.
Hmm. That was
So
after
anyway,
that was after two practice sessions and session one of Big Tens. And we were like,
no, that was after all of it.
was that Saturday night?
Yeah.
Oh, you're right. You're so right. You're so right.
We went
Any
to Jolly Pumpkin on Friday night.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Anywho,
Okay.
we had a
Yeah,
great
that's
time.
those are a couple of our anecdotes.
Okay, but
We had a great time.
gymnastics wise, let's talk about Big Tens just very briefly. Um, Number one, it was so awesome having all 12 teams of the conference in one place. So special. It was so, so special. Yes, they were spread over 2 days, but it was cool to see them still cross over and the athletes got the interactions with each other. And it's just one big family in the Big Ten. And it was so fun. I also have to say, like, just extend my gratitude and appreciation to all of the coaches and the support staff and the student athletes in the Big Ten. And I think I can speak for Olivia on this. The way that you guys have shown your love for Olivia and I, is so special. I mean, there was one night where we were coming in off of a really late night. I think it was Friday night. And we walked into the hotel lobby, and it was just a big round of applause for us. And we didn't know, it felt very unjustified, and we didn't really know what to do with it. But we were so grateful of just the love and the support. And I mean, many people were commending us and thanking us for the videos we were putting out and the content we were putting out. And it was just so special, and it's not lost on us just how amazing the community has been in the Big Ten, and just welcoming us with open arms into um, what we just believe is something that we want to do, we feel called to do, to be able to pour out what we do into the gymnastics world and into women's sports. So it was just really special to all get to be together and to have just such incredible people supporting us. It was awesome.
I totally agree. I think it was like homecoming. I mean, it just felt so fun to be around everyone and everyone was so I feel like we were all there for so many of the same reasons and all those reasons weren't necessarily to win Big Ten titles or to win championships or anything gymnastically necessarily. A lot of it had to do with just elevating women's sports and being in the same room and all feeling just this really good joy toward what we were doing. And so it just felt really good. I thought everything from a, production perspective from like in arena was fantastic. I thought the team that put the meet together, look, I competed in Chrysler my entire collegiate career. I don't know how they fit a podium there. They did. It was impressive. Like everything that they needed to do, the event management team, the Big Ten conference, like everyone did it.
Yeah.
And it was just really nice to see the athletes get that in that championship environment and vibe. It was just a really good feeling.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. Congrats to UCLA on winning the Big Ten championship. Super cool. First year in the conference. Really awesome. I mean, I think there was definitely some highlighted routines. Do we want to share our top three routines of all of Big Tens.
Yeah, I think we should. I think the one thing I will acknowledge out there, no one's stupid. It was high scoring. The
Mhm.
entire, I think the whole meet was high scoring
Yeah,
from Friday through Saturday.
yeah,
I think Saturday was pretty wild with some scores and some things. And like,
correct.
we would be remiss if we just didn't acknowledge that. Now, that doesn't mean that the places I firmly believe that from vault all the way to all around, all the way to team, those were the people and the scores and the routines that should have won. I do firmly believe that. I think
Yes,
Zarmani's vault was absolutely breathtaking. It should have won.
100%.
Spence's bars from the Friday night session should have won. Sienna Alipio and Gabby Stephen Beam should have won. Ty for Childs and Moore's on vault. All around Shea should have won. UCLA should have won. I firmly believe that all the right people, routines, and things were recognized. I really do. And I even felt that way about the annual awards. I
Mhm.
felt everything was done right. Now, the way we got there was a little cray cray, and there were some things that a lot of people were like, "Whoo,
Yeah,
did I just see that?" But I think for me, like highlight routines, I think Emma Spence's bars was the garlic chiviest, butteriest everything I've ever seen in my life. It was so good.
so
She
good.
held everything. She did the pack into the right into the toe hand, into the Van Leeuwen. The blind full was right on top of the bar. The double tuck was spot on. Like it was so good. And
In
I remember
session
watching.
one, in session one, it
I
was
know. I
amazing.
amazing. And I remember watching it in session one on call, being like, I mean, this is the standard. And I do believe the judges held it to that standard. And I
I do.
appreciate that. I
Right.
really believe they did. And so
Yeah.
that was like a huge highlight routine for me throughout the entire weekend. I just thought that was amazing. I thought another one was Gabby Dildy's beam. Rutgers qualified to regionals as a team,
That
first
was going
time
to be
since
one of
2014.
mine.
Like she
That was
had
going to be one of
so
mine.
much pressure on her.
I know.
And I don't know if she knew it or not. She, from spending more time with her a couple weekends ago at Big Tens, she's so chill, but also has like a spunky, sassy side. But I could see in that moment, my gut tells me she didn't know.
Mhm.
But if she did, you couldn't tell.
Mhm.
Her like iciness was so impressive to me. And the team, like, obviously was so excited when she hit that routine, but like knowing what that meant in a deeper way to them was just so good. That was totally one of my highlights.
I love those. I love those.
And then my other one is Brooklyn. Look, like you guys, was it her perfect routine? And I talked to her after the meet. I gave her the biggest hug ever. And she said that wasn't a perfect routine. And I told her, you know what? You have done so many that it was time and you were meant to win floor at Big Tens.
Yeah.
So, and she, she is the most humble, lovely, selfless person ever that like she knows. But
Yeah.
I think she needs one in her career and we're running out of time. And so to get it, then to have it win her the Big Ten title on floor, it was perfect.
Yeah.
And I know she's always going to look back and go, I've done better ones, but she got the 10 and she deserves the 10. And
Yeah.
so I want to acknowledge that too, because, let's be honest, there was a little scoochie woochy on the Rudy. And then let's be honest about Jordan. There was a little scoochie woochy on the front foot on the last pass. But like once you go 10 for Brooklyn, you got to go 10 for, I mean, like, it's a toss up. And so the judges backed themselves into that one a little bit, but I do think it was the right outcome.
Yeah. I agree. I agree. Okay, my highlights. You've given me some good time to think through these.
I like did not pre-think about those, but they just came to me.
Yeah, I mean, you did steal one of mine, which was Rutgers qualifying to regionals. I think that overall, the energy, the personality, the culture, all the things that I saw from Rutgers last weekend, I'm just so happy for them. I'm really happy for them.
Same.
I think that they're I'm excited for them this weekend at regionals. Like they get to go and compete against Clemson in the play-in day. And honestly, I I think those are two really good teams that both could make it through. But I think that the energy and the passion and the grit that I saw from Rutgers, like I think that those sort of traits are going to help push a team through the play-in day. And quite frankly, I can't speak to Clemson. I haven't watched them as close and don't know them as well. But I think that when you can put really great people together, really great energy together, Rutgers does have what it takes to potentially compete 2 days in a row and go and slay in round two. So um,
Agreed.
I'm excited for them on that. One moment of Big Tens that's going to live rent free in my brain forever is seeing Orly Tran perform her floor routine in person. Um, I literally stood there, like hands crossed, just taking it in. Um, there's just a movement quality that I can honestly say is a very similar emotion I felt when I watched Brooklyn at the UCLA versus Michigan State meet earlier in the season, where I just was appreciating artistry, appreciating the care that Orly is pouring into that individual performance from the moment her music turns on to the very end of her salute. it she is telling a story and she is feeling something with every movement in her routine, and it's magnificent. It's something that I hope everyone gets to experience. um I don't know why the thought that just popped in my head was like, I can kind of relate it to some of the emotion that I've been feeling watching some of the US figure skaters at World Championships this past week. Like obviously there's
Mm.
been some like big storylines in US figure skating this year. Um, but I saw some like emotion that I was feeling through the screen watching those routines, and that's what I
Yeah.
feel from Brooklyn and from Orly on floor, which is gives me the chills to even think about. Um,
Orly Tran is also the sweetest young woman
oh,
I've ever met. I
yeah,
just
yeah.
so sweet.
Um, Honorable mention highlight is how appreciative and cute all of the 12 athletes that we interviewed were when we surprised them with their t-shirt. They were all just so grateful and surprised and happy, and their teammates were happy for them, and it was so cute. It was so cute. Um,
I think sometimes something as small as a little something that you're not expecting at all was better than many, many other things. It could be all as like a surprise. My brother surprised me this weekend in Chicago, and I literally got off the train and saw him and sobbed. It's something like just seeing a person or like someone giving you a coffee or getting a hug from someone. Like it's little things. And for us this time, it was t-shirts to thank all the athletes, not just a thank you, but like a t-shirt to be like, we thought through this. We want you to feel special. And the only thing I will say that was really hard for me is I wanted to put everyone on a freaking t-shirt.
I
Like
know.
it was so hard to like only have 12 athletes on this shirt and like, you know, when you look out at the Big Ten, when everyone was sitting there on floor at awards, and I was finishing up in the media table for being on air, and I just remember looking out and thinking to myself, how do you not just love this group of people? Like there's just 12 rows of teams sitting in their little straddled position, some teammates leaning back and hugging you. Like I remember when you used to sit like that, and it just gave me good energy, and the only negative I would say is it made me wish all of them could be on a t-shirt.
Yeah. I love that. I love that. Yeah. So my other highlight, which I guess is a little bit selfish, was I went to the fan section of each of the teams during the rotations and during the sessions. Um, and I was standing in the middle of the Minnesota Golden Gophers section, and I had two dads on either side of me before they did their Minnesota, Minnesota, go Gophers cheer.
Gophers.
Um, And before we went live on camera, one of the dads just reached over, grabbed my shoulder, and he was like, I just need to tell you that we love you. Like what you do for this sport, what you do for our girls on this team, what you do for the Big Ten and the greater sport as a whole. Like it is not lost on us, and we are
Oh.
just so grateful for you. And I was like, we're about to do a cheer. I can't cry right now. So I ended up taking a cute picture with the Minnesota section, and it was really adorable. But man, those moments, like I try to collect them and remember them in hard days, and remember that I'm trying to do this just to make sure that student athletes feel the best experience that they possibly can, have the best memories that they possibly can have. And moments like that with people reaching out and extending gratitude and sharing words like that, like the power of moments like that are really big. And it was big for me. So I loved that. And it was, the fans turned out. It was so fun. Ann Arbor crushed it. Yeah.
I have one selfish one if you're going to have one selfish one.
Go.
So I've had these shoes in my closet for years. They're Alice and Olivia black suede pumps. They're stunning. Think Carrie Bradshaw at the bar meeting big for a Cosmopolitan at like the hottest bar in Manhattan. Like that's what we're talking with these shoes. And I've had them forever. And I bought them when I had like credit at Bloomingdale's or whatever. So I bought these shoes. And I've worn them in very small doses and they hurt like a beep
Mhm.
so much. Hurt
Yeah.
so much. And I was like, you know what? It's a big weekend. Time for some big pain. You know?
Yeah,
Like,
I
I
do.
can do this. If all these women can do 4 events and look that good doing it, I can wear some dang shoes that
Yeah.
hurt. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna do this. So, wore them Friday. Tough. After Corey and I lifted and squatted on Thursday with Lou Porciaso, shout out Lou, and then did cardio on Friday, a
Mhm.
cardio circuit that nearly ended me.
Mhm.
I decided to wear these pumps. Okay, sure. So did it Friday, great. Saturday, great. Ended up getting the nod from my producer early in the show. You're gonna go out by Beam and interview the winning all-around athlete and the winning coach. And I'm like, cool. So I had that planned. I was ready to go over there, and I interviewed Janelle and I interviewed Shay. And I'm kind of like, oh great, my work here's done. We're gonna go to commercial, and then we're gonna come back and wrap it up. That's kind of how the run of show goes. And I get a ear, you know, little mention. Hey, Liv, we need you back at the desk in 15 seconds to wrap up the show. And I'm on the other end of Chrysler, and I'm like, there is no option but to sprint. Now, I'm not going to say that Lou's circuit prepared me. I'm not going to say that wearing the shoes for 2 days and my feet were numb prepared me. And I'm also not going to say that I did not hold my chest while I ran, because I did. I sprinted in these stilettos from the other side, jumped off the podium, off the whatever, and ran around, put my headset on, pressed talk back, and said, I'm here in 14 seconds. Wrapped up the show and was done. You guys, my mother was like, we thought you were going to roll an ankle. I mean, I was full blown sprinting in Alice and Olivia stilettos, but all I'm going to say is I'm going to write a review about those shoes. They can withstand anything.
Shout out. Are you
I'm
joking?
shouting out myself. I'm shouting out myself for sprinting in stilettos.
This
14
makes me
seconds.
this makes me question where I was during all of that because I completely missed that.
It was like, I'm talking Mission Impossible, life or death, action highway type of stuff.
And
And
honestly,
like,
you went so fast, how could I even see you?
I mean, you blinked and I was gone.
You were talk back. I'm here.
I literally pressed talk back and I was like, present. And then we just wrapped it up.
Iconic.
Yeah,
Iconic.
it was great. That's my selfish call out of the weekend, because I didn't know I could still run like that. I didn't know those shoes could run like that. And I just had to, it just, yeah, that's all.
Love. Okay.
Let's go
Enough
through regionals.
enough of that. Um, there's this little thing called regionals this weekend.
Right. Shall
I
we
think
discuss?
I think what we should do is go through each of the regionals and look at the bracket and
Great.
do high level
Would
discussion
you like
about
for me to share my screen?
um should we?
I don't know. Do
I
people
don't
know what bracket? Hopefully, people know what bracket we're talking
If you don't
about.
know what the bracket is, just search NCAA Gymnastics bracket 2025. You'll find it. Okay. Let's
Okay. I'm also gonna time us because
Yeah, this is getting out of hand.
it's getting out of hand. Okay. Timer. We're going to stopwatch, okay, when we begin. Each regional gets 5 minutes. So we're really going high level.
I love it.
Okay.
So for those of you tuning in right now, for the next 20 minutes, we're discussing the bracket. Are you ready?
Ready? Three, two, one.
Okay, let's start at the Penn State regional.
Okay, so playing Maryland, West Virginia is interesting because I think both teams have something to prove this year. And I actually just did a video with Big Ten. Maryland had a great Big Tens until Beam. They
Yeah,
just kind of had a little bit of a Beam meltdown. And I think that that is something, had they not done that, they would have finished high. And so all I'm going to say is Maryland is coming back with a vengeance from that. The other thing I'm going to say is West Virginia has some incredible vibes. Hello, Stick Plunger. And
yeah,
I'm pretty sure this is the first time they've been to regionals as a team in a while. So I
correct.
think something to prove for both teams.
Okay, amazing. Winner of that play-in day is going to hop into a session the very next day against number one LSU, number 16 Arkansas, and the University of Michigan.
I think LSU is just so far unstoppable. I really think
Oh
that
yeah,
they're
they're slip and sliding their way into the
correct.
finals for sure.
What's going to be really fascinating about this meet is the Arkansas Michigan debacle because Michigan is ranked 17th and
Hmm.
Arkansas 16th.
Hmm.
So, average wise, NQS wise, numerically, this is very fascinating.
Correct.
It's all coming down to vault landings for me.
Correct.
Granted, people hit everything else. Like, nothing astronomical on the other events, but like granted everyone goes, has 5 hit routines on the other events. It is simply going to come down to vault landings, and both teams have struggled with that this year, and
Yeah.
it's going to be who sticks more vaults or minimizes landings on vault.
Yeah. Exactly a 10th separates the two of them. So it's going to be tough. Um, In that first round, though, so just so everyone knows, in the semifinal round, which is day two of regionals, the second ranked NQS team starts with Olympic order. So the first rank starts on floor, and then it'll go two, three, four, one in the order of events. So Arkansas will have Olympic order in that round, just something of note.
Interesting.
Um, but yeah, I agree. I think that LSU just needs to go out and throw down routines, and they're going to move on to the third day of regionals. Um, I have to say, like, if I'm a team that was sitting at home during conference championships, you have some built up, pent up energy that is ready to go out and prove some people wrong, and that is a team
Yeah,
you don't want to be up against, to be honest with you. So I think that
I agree.
that's a factor. And you know what? I think that Michigan's gonna throw down. I think that they will. I think that it's gonna be an amazing competition, and honestly, it's one that I will be seated for. So the first session on that day, let's discuss those. I know we have time constraint because
Yeah,
5 minutes
I'm looking down.
Olivia puts on us.
Right.
Michigan State, Kentucky, Ohio State, Penn State. This is a Big Ten heavy regional, by the way.
It's Big Ten heavy, but I do think that Kentucky is an interesting add here because Kentucky gives me a little Big Ten energy, if I'm being totally honest. But Michigan State, to me, just needs to literally hit 20 out of 24 routines. Like they can have a mistake once on each event. They just need to hit. I think they'll be fine if they just hit. Now, we saw in the regional final last year, they were given a window of opportunity and they didn't hit and they didn't qualify. So I
Yeah,
think for them, the most important thing on this regional day is just hitting, nothing crazy, just hit. Kentucky has been a dark horse this year. I think that everyone's kind of, without the Raina Worley factor, whatever, they're like not as, but they have Kreslin Bros, they have Magnelli. Like I think that they're a very interesting team that when they're hot and dangerous. And my other two nods about Ohio State and Penn State, these are both teams that have injured veterans.
yeah,
Peyton Harris is out, Penn State's Ava Piedrahita is out, Amani Herring's out. Like they're injured and they've been plagued with injuries, and that sucks. But I do also think that that provides some semblance of motivation with these youngsters who don't really know what regionals really is like. And
yeah,
so I think it could fuel them.
yeah,
So that's actually a very interesting quad to me
for
because you
sure.
would expect Michigan State and Kentucky, but should something go wrong, I think Ohio State and Penn State could seize.
Correct. So I have to just say one more thing, which is, in my opinion, if the four top teams make it to this third day of regionals, I do
Yeah.
think that the Arkansas versus Kentucky situation is really interesting to me. Last year
Yeah.
at regionals, Arkansas beat Kentucky to make qualify to the national championship. Of course, Arkansas
Right.
was home last year. There's always been a little bit of a feud right there in between those two teams. And if Michigan State opens the door, one of those teams might slide in and get the national championship berth. So it'll be an interesting regional to follow. All right.
And
On-
honestly, The one other thing I'll say is I think LSU has to be really good that day too.
Mhm.
I think they can slide through round one. I think they have to be really good on
Correct.
day two.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. I agree.
Resetting.
Okay. Let's
Ready?
head to Salt Lake City. What do you say?
Let's fly to Salt Lake City. Okay. Let's begin with the BYU Utah State competition. I'm going to be fully transparent. I have not followed both of these teams very closely. And so I don't really know what their edges are against each other. But from my understanding, looking right here at this bracket, at their NQS or their average, they're tied.
It's
So
equal.
it's equal. So from that, I'm going to gather that this is going to be a really dang good meet. And I'm very intrigued.
Yeah. BYU was in the play-in last year in regionals and they completely crushed it. It was amazing. So that was, I mean, it, if you can throw down your best meet of the season at the play-in and then go and repeat next day two, you're
Right?
bound to be grateful to be in day two. Go and crush it again. It's amazing. Okay, they're
Yep.
gonna hop into a session on the next day of competition. With the top seed in that session will be the University of Utah, so which is the home team. Then you have Stanford, Denver, and the winner of the play-in. Okay,
That's a scary freaking quad meet.
I'm taking this one. Here's the deal. University of Utah at home. I'm going to call it slip and slide, right? Slip and slide right on over. But to be noted, I always cannot wait to watch a Utah beam rotation because it's a work of art. Okay.
Touche.
Um, then we have this Stanford Denver situation where Denver kind of similar to like I'm gonna call it a little bit like Michigan State. They hadn't put together a complete meet in many, many weeks, but Denver has the opportunity to score high if they put together complete meets, right? So in this scenario, we have a Denver Stanford situation where I would not want to be against Stanford at any point in the postseason bracket. Anytime someone opens a door, Stanford's going to slide right on through. Now, I think the competition between Denver and Stanford will be tight, but I do think that Stanford will likely get that berth into the third day of regionals. But I think that that competition will be a really fun one to watch because I think Denver's a fun team to watch in and of itself. They have some great
Agreed.
seniors. They have some great seniors on their team. They have some amazing artistry coming from some of those, like from Momo and people like that. So that's what I feel about that one. And my overarching feeling of this entire Salt Lake City regional is watch out for Stanford. That's all I have to say.
Agreed. Couldn't agree more.
Okay, so then the other session on day two, we have the top seed in that session, which is the second seed in the regional, is UCLA, then Minnesota, Southern Utah, and Boise State. Give us your thoughts.
I think what's interesting about the two Big Ten teams there is UCLA is coming off of an incredible performance at Big Tens.
Mhm.
I think Minnesota's coming off of a not bad, but not their best performance at Big Tens. And so for UCLA, it's going to be a management of, you know, hitting and making sure you get to the next day. And maybe if you need to, resting some people here and there. For Minnesota, I think it's going to be that as well, but also a little bit of a redemption meet because what happened at Big Tens was just not like them. They just made some silly mistakes that it was just unusual. And so I think if it were up to me and not to be Big Ten bias, I do think those will be the two teams that come out of it. Now, Southern Utah and Boise State are both teams that have had great meets this season and also have not had great meets this season. So
Yep.
I could see if there was a door opened by either UCLA or Minnesota, one of them capitalizing on it. But if I'm a betting woman, I'm putting UCLA and Minnesota coming out of that session, and I'm going to go Utah Stanford coming out of that session, this other session. The question now becomes who in the dang sweet world comes out of those four? Because I have no idea.
I have to mention the last time that UCLA was at Utah, they lost.
That's right.
I
I do think that could also be an interesting, like, we're back, let's fix what we didn't do
Correct.
last time situation. It
Correct.
could also be, and they've competed at Utah millions of times in the Pac 12. So I
Correct.
think there's a level of comfort as well. Now, not to mention, Utah is not the easiest place to compete, but I do think UCLA at least is not alone in being a lone visitor. Now, Minnesota's interesting to me because I think Minnesota can be gamers.
Mhm.
And they're one of those teams that if they're on, they're on. And I think if they're on, it's really good. Stanford, you just mentioned, Corey. I don't want to go against Stanford. Absolutely no way. And
It-
Utah, I don't want to go against Utah at home.
yeah. Last bit, Stanford also has comfortability competing at Utah from their Pac-12
Right.
experience. And I just have to note that this will be the third meet in a row that Utah will be in Salt Lake City. That's all.
Well, I think that, listen, Utah opened the door last year at regionals.
Mhm.
Unfortunately, Michigan State wasn't able to capitalize on that, and that's that. Okay, but Utah it has in a remarkable run of not missing a national championship
Talk
visit.
about pressure.
Talk about pressure. I would not want to be on that team, having to make sure you're not on the team that breaks that excuse. But like, okay, stars align for them. They're at home, all these things, top seed in that regional. I don't know, you guys. I don't know. Anything can happen. It freaks me out. And let's go to the next regional.
Okay, we're going to the great city of Seattle, Washington.
Let's discuss.
Let's discuss. Okay, play in Illinois versus UC Davis.
I'm going with my Big Ten roots here. I really am. I think Illinois had a spectacular meet at Big Tens. And I actually talked to Natalie Walsh, their head coach, a little bit during practice. And she was like, I think a lot of people without Takakawa kind of count us out. And I feel like they've slowly been creeping their way up. And like the Chosho, excuse, Amelia Knight, excuse, Eden King has been incredible for them. Like, I think if Illinois does what they did at Big Tens, they're an undeniable shoe in. Now, UC Davis could easily capitalize on a slip up by Illinois.
Mhm.
And I haven't watched them that much, so I can't specifically comment on any routines or rotations from this season, but
Mhm.
it's gymnastics. Anything can happen.
Yeah. I mean, I I have to agree with you. And Illinois and UC Davis are, from what it looks like, about 6.5 tenths apart from each other. So, from in an NQS standpoint, so I just think that like Illinois needs to just go out and do their thing, and they'll move on to day two. But I do think it's awesome that UC Davis is at regionals. I think it's super cool, super cool. Okay, they will
Agreed.
hop into a session with the top seed in the Seattle Regional, which is the University of Oklahoma, which is number two after last weekend when there was a flip-flop with LSU. So Oklahoma, Auburn, Nebraska, and the winner of Illinois versus UC Davis. Um, Auburn, Nebraska is going to be one to watch.
Insane. I couldn't agree more. I think Oklahoma has to stay on the equipment and they're fine. I think they could even make a little slip and they're fine to qualify into day two or day three. Now, this Auburn Nebraska thing is fascinating. Auburn being 15th and Nebraska, I don't remember what their final rank. Maybe I'm trying to think of what the bracket would like look like in my head. Maybe 18th or 19th,
17th?
17th, one of those. But
Oh no,
Nebraska,
Michigan is 17, so 18, 19, somewhere in
19,
there. Yeah.
18 or 19, one of those two. Nebraska was fifth in NQS in Big Tens. Their win loss is what put them in Friday night's meet. Nebraska is a very, very, very dangerous. And again, they were plagued by vault landings at Big Tens. That's what did them in. I don't think Nebraska is a team anyone should sleep on. And Auburn has injuries and isn't at the level they were at the beginning of the season. Like, I don't know. That could be real fascinating.
Yeah, I agree. I just think people should watch that one 100%. I think it's going to be a really great meet. And the first session on the second day of regionals in Seattle will be the top seed in that session will be Missouri, which is awesome. Then it'll be that, and they're ranked seventh in NQS. They'll be against the 10th ranked NQS in the University of Georgia. And then we have Arizona and Arizona State. Um, I mean, Missouri, I think, needs to go out and do their thing, and they are showing the world this year how consistent they are and how awesome they are. But they just got to go out and do their thing. Um, I think after SECs, the University of Georgia has a little bit of proving to do in terms of just like hitting, and like throwing down a great meet. But
Yeah.
I know that they have it in them. I mean, they're the 10th ranked NQS, you know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, like I think that like Georgia needs to like do their thing as well and throw down good routines. Um, but Arizona, when I was watching Big 12s, they looked really good and really clean. So
And don't forget Evan Hyder. Cat, 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 cat.
we'll never forget. We'll never.
Correct. I do think that Arizona is a sleeper team.
So I just think we talk about doors opening. There's doors that can be opened here, and it's just about whoever can take advantage of those doors opening, and doing their thing and throwing down the best routines that they possibly can is the only way to keep going through this regional. Um, it is the only way. So then we take it to the third day, the finals. Um, you know, I just think that the top teams, Missouri and Oklahoma, will likely be in day three. The second team from each of those sessions on day two, anyone's game.
I agree. I agree.
Anyone's game. Let's just say I hope they brought extra leotards, that they're not just bringing a single leotard. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, for sure. Reach out to the director of ops. Okay, 5 minutes.
Immediately. Okay, we have one final regional, and I hope
We're
everyone,
in
or don't
Tuscaloosa.
don't start it yet. I hope everyone has seen on social media their viewing schedule for this week because you better be seated all the way from what is it?
It's like
Tomorrow?
noon central start. Well, tomorrow, yeah. I think it starts at 1 central, the first play and meet, and then 4 central. And then it's like noon to 10 on
You're
Thursday.
basically watching gymnastics from tomorrow at 1 all the way through Sunday. So order your groceries, make sure you hydrate, grab a friend, because everyone watches women's sports. Now, let's go ahead and get that timer started. We are heading down to T-Town, Tuscaloosa, Alabama is the location of the fourth regional. And in session one, we have who we were talking about earlier, this Clemson-Rutgers situation. What are your thoughts? We kind of shared them earlier, but do you have any additional thoughts?
The only thing I'll say looking at this bracket right now with averages is Clemson at a 196.255 and Rutgers at a 195.89. I don't think that should be any indication for how this meet may go because I just firmly look, you guys, I'm not saying anything against Clemson at all whatsoever. I've just seen this Rutgers team and I've seen this team grow from what it has been 10 years ago, 5 years ago, last year to what it is now. And there's this underlying fire that I've never seen in them before. And I just think they are taking every single day and seizing it. And I don't know. I would be really scared to be in a playing competition against them.
I agree. I couldn't agree more.
That's
Okay,
all I'm gonna
that
say.
meet is going to funnel into the session with the University of Florida, Oregon State, NC State. I mean,
Yeah. I look like Florida has been pretty amazing this year. They had like the one meet at Arkansas that they lost to Arkansas at. Fascinating. But I do think that Florida really just has to stay on equipment and they'll move on to day three. This
yep,
whole Oregon State, NC State thing is fascinating because I think both teams are equally good. The
yep.
numbers might not say that. Oregon State's average is a 197, 185. NC State 196, 68. I think NC State is one of those programs that could come out of left field and just be like, you had an off day? We have great days every day and just sweep you.
Right, right. Wow. That'll be interesting.
Yes.
I'll bet my money on Oregon State though. Not money. I don't bet money. I usually bet like LaCroix or like coffees. But um I'll
Just for the fun of things, I'll bet you a LaCroix. NC State wins. You bet me a LaCroix. Oregon State wins.
period. Done. This is my chainsaw.
That was really well done. Okay, moving on to the meet that'll happen earlier that day. California is going to be the top ranked team in that session, ranked at number 6. Alabama, the host, 11. North Carolina, and Iowa. Low key, this may be the well, I do think the Oklahoma, Auburn, Nebraska, and then Illinois or UC Davis is pretty fascinating. This may be one of the most fascinating quads of the whole regional.
Well, can we talk about the Arkansas Michigan situation? Like, I don't know.
Okay, you're right. You're right. You're right. You're right. I don't know. This is just like a fascinating quad to me.
This is crazy. And I think everyone's thinking about, the day three of the Tuscaloosa Regional, where Alabama's the home team, and you have Cal and Florida thrown in the mix there. Uh,
Right.
and yeah, I'm making that assumption, those three assumptions. Um, I mean, Alabama at home,
Yeah.
I'd be scared too. Um,
Yeah.
Also, they have some momentum. They did not have a great season, but they have some momentum, especially after, they won session one of SECs. Um,
Right.
it's just really interesting. Um, I- yeah,
They may be peaking at the right time. They may be. I also do think that it's fascinating to see like a Cal team go up against like a Florida and Alabama, potentially an Oregon State. I think that they have incredibly different gymnastics that's, in my personal opinion, come at me if you believe it, more technically correct. So I wonder how judges will differentiate between like a Lausanne or like a Maddie Williams bar. I think Leanne has spectacular bars. I think a lot of these athletes have spectacular routines. I'm just fascinated to see as a conglomerate how Cal will be scored in comparison to like a Florida, a Bama, etc. I just think that's going to be really interesting. And I do think also like the Iowa UNC averages being literally neck and neck is also really interesting. Let's say, regardless of if they upset one of the top teams, I do think a meet between those two seems very equal to me. Like, I think that will just be a good meet.
yeah.
You're right. I misspoke. I think that the LSU, Arkansas, Michigan quad is the most interesting.
Well, I don't think you misspoke. I just think that this year, regionals in particular, with the
It's
level
just insane.
of incredible gymnastics that's happening around the country is insane and amazing.
I
But
agree. I just think it's like anywhere you turn, you could literally close your eyes and point and be like, that's difficult.
yeah,
That's difficult.
I do want to say one thing. There's this conversation, like we've even said it on here, about like Cal's gymnastics being different. They're really good at gymnastics. Really good, right? You use the word technically perfect, right? Like they're so good at gymnastics that I want to make it clear to everyone that when we say that their gymnastics is different, it doesn't mean that it's bad. It doesn't mean that it's off the beaten path. It doesn't mean that
The
it's
opposite.
it's quite literally the opposite. And for me, as I think about Cal heading into this weekend, they're coming off of losing to Stanford at ACCs. Talk about a little bit of energy going in the direction of like, we'll prove you wrong. Like, that's what that kind of energy I'm feeling from the Cal Bears. And whether they're doing unique gymnastics or not, I would bet my money, maybe there's a lot of betting happening on this regional. Um, I just think that they're going to go out and slay this weekend. I have to say, I have to admit, it all just depends on what the judges do with home scoring of Alabama.
Yeah.
How's that?
And landings, honestly, you guys, landings, like
Yeah.
we say it every single day, every single meet, every single time. We're in postseason now. You literally like your nostril flares and they take a tenth off, and there's your like nationals trip. I mean, it's like truly that intense. So, for the sake of like how close this is gonna be, it just yeah.
And then the last moment I'm going to take on this conversation about regionals is I just want to remind everyone that how the brackets work now is legit bracket situation where the right-hand side of the bracket, the four schools that make it to Fort Worth will compete on the right side of the bracket, will compete against one another for a berth into the national championship final. So just want you to like keep in mind if we take the four top teams, seeded top teams from the right-hand side, that first round of competition will be Oklahoma, Missouri, Cal, and Florida.
That gives me severe, severe anxiety. And I think I need to late night call my therapist.
I correct. And some bubbles, probably.
Many, many bubbles.
And the other side, top, I'm taking the top seed from each of the top two seeds from each of the regionals. LSU, Michigan State, UCLA, Utah. I mean, this is why the NQS exists, right? For us to have anxiety in this moment of knowing the gymnastics that these eight incredible teams have thrown down throughout the year, it makes for one of the craziest scenarios to happen of what those semifinals in Fort Worth will be like. And we will cover that because we will do an episode next week ahead of nationals, all the things. Olivia and I will both be in Fort Worth. So you never know what's going to get thrown down when we're together again. But that is why we have the NQS the way that it is. But I have also heard it. I heard it on the selection show that they did. I heard it from some people on the internet. I don't know of a year that we just had the eight teams smoothly move on to the national championship.
That's right.
So
So
buckle
our
up.
long-winded way of going through this whole bracket is to say that you should probably watch because literally anything could happen.
Anything can happen. Yeah. Yeah.
And it really stresses me out. Where's Antonia? I need
Are
her
you gonna
cuddles.
are you gonna watch with Scott Bregman?
I am. I am arriving at Scott Bregman's humble abode at 11:30 a.m. Central on Thursday to
BC.
sit with him for 12 hours. And then he, in return, will arrive at my humble abode on Friday at 11:30 a.m. Central to sit with me for 12 hours.
If you're wondering, everyone, I'm sure that they have a calendar notification for such a thing.
We don't, but we did text about it on like Sunday.
Correct.
Like we've
Yeah.
been planning. Yeah.
Um, it's gonna be hard.
Sunday of Big Ten's weekend, by the way. I mean, Sunday of last weekend.
Yeah. I mean, it's gonna be hard because I'm gonna be at the Seattle Regional. It's gonna be hard to not watch, but
I will give you timely updates, which
please.
means turn your notifications off because everything will be timely.
I'll be on Do Not Disturb, except for Olivia.
Is that possible?
I think so.
Oh my God, Apple.
But I don't know. I have no idea. Okay, we need to be quiet. All right. I hope
Yeah, we
everyone
need to wrap
enjoyed.
this up.
Yeah, I hope everyone enjoyed this episode. It was fun.
I can't believe you wore sunnies the whole time. It's like a really good movie star look for you.
Thank you.
I really like it.
For those of you listening on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, I literally wore sunglasses the entire episode because the sun was just giving in
And
Seattle.
it became nighttime for me during this entire episode.
Yeah. Nighttime, daytime,
I went
daytime.
to bed at 7 p.m. last night, so I'm already past my bedtime.
Gosh, yeah, you need to go to bed. Okay.
Yeah, I do.
Well, I hope everyone enjoys this episode. We got to gab a little bit about our memories from Big Tens, and we did have an amazing time. Conference Championship weekend was so fun, and we did catch up on as many of them as we possibly could. So proud of all the student athletes that threw down last weekend. But we are heading into a very, very exciting weekend. So I hope, wait, that was 2 weekends ago.
I'm tired
I'm
still.
still tired. But I hope everyone has made their plans because teams are arriving into these four regional locations, and this is the start of the national championship for the sport of gymnastics. So, um, don't sleep on regionals. It's not, don't do it. Don't do it. It's the only path to the national championship. And you better be ready because these are going to be some amazing competitions with some incredible stories. So we will be around. Follow us on Twitter
Did
and
you just say LinkedIn?
was almost going to say LinkedIn.
Could you imagine if we were providing like
Live updates.
tweet-esque posts on LinkedIn.
No, we would un be unconnected immediately.
Correct.
Correct.
Okay.
All right. So follow us on social this weekend, and we're gonna have some things to say about just some amazing gymnastics. But we hope you enjoyed this episode, and we are going to leave and stop talking because I'm going a little brain dead already. So like, comment, subscribe if you're on YouTube. We're happy that you're here. Enjoy listening to us, whether you're on the treadmill walking your dog or just taking time out of
On the
your day.
treadmill, walking your dog. Nice.
Oh, Olivia, one time I was on the treadmill and next to me was a man sitting in a chair walking his dog on the treadmill, meaning like the dog was walking on the treadmill, but he was seated.
Should I try that with Antonia?
Oh my gosh. We never can actually close an episode. Just
Okay, bye.
we love you. Goodbye.